The amplifiers of the 1970s were usually single channel amps and usually driven quite hard to the point of breakup. So you may do well to also do this, and let me not try and get run over by cars. Hello and welcome back to the Perfunctionist channel. So you find me here in New York City, of all places. This is my second time coming here. First time I came here was a few years ago, and the circumstances around my visit were not ideal for me to enjoy it as much as I should have. So at the time, I'd just gone through a breakup the day before I came. I was only able to be here for a couple of days, and I was all on my own, which isn't the best state to be in for your mental health and your emotional health when you're going through a breakup. So as much, I did enjoy myself, but it could have been better. So I am back in New York again to rewrite those memories. This time I'm here for a few days. I have some friends with me, and I haven't just gone through a breakup. But what has all that got to do with the channel? This is a music channel. Why am I telling you all this? Well, I'll tie that in a moment, but which does bring me on to what we are here to talk about, which is the Boss DS1 distortion pedal. So the Boss DS1 is a classic distortion pedal by Boss, released in, I believe, 1978. It sold over 1.5 million units, and it's definitely one of Boss's most popular pedals. But people who review the DS1 these days tend to describe it as harsh and generally not sounding very good. I actually did a video on the DS1 a while ago and had similar things to say about it. Yeah, it did sound a bit harsh, didn't sound the best, but I still have a special place in my heart for this pedal because it was my first ever guitar pedal given to me along with my first guitar by my Uncle Riddell back when I was starting out on the guitar when I was about 12. So yeah, I can't dislike this pedal. But since I did that video, I've learned a few things about the DS1 which might change my opinion of it. So apparently I've been using it wrong, and if I've been using it wrong, probably some of you guys out there might have been using it wrong as well. So that's what we're going to look at today. We are going to revisit the Boss DS1 with new information, and we're going to come at it again from a different angle, in the same way that I am going to revisit New York once again from a different angle. And I've actually been lying to you a bit. I'm not actually in New York at the moment. That's New York over there, and that's the Hudson River. I am currently in New Jersey, so I'm going to revisit New York via New Jersey and see if we can rewrite that memory of both New York and the Boss DS1. This is one of the cool things about jet lag, is that I can come out at 5 in the morning fully awake and film videos for you guys. So one reason why the Boss DS1 might not sound very good is because you're plugging it directly into a clean amp. Back in the 70s, where everyone used maybe a single channel amp and cranked it, it would probably start to break up a bit, which is how they would have used the DS1. So we're going to try plugging into a clean amp and seeing how the DS1 sounds through that, and then plugging into a slightly broken up amp and seeing how that sounds. Okay, so as you can see, we have the Boss DS1 here, and it's going directly into the front of my Rev D20 amp, which is currently set clean. So the Boss is off at the moment. I'm on my back pickup, and you can hear that it is still pretty clean. Let's check out the DS1. So everything is kind of at 12 at the moment, and let's hear how it sounds. So I could do with a bit more level first of all. As we expected, it sounds, yeah, a little bit on the harsh side. It's not the best sound in the world, and this is going into the clean side of the amplifier, going to a clean amp. Let's see what happens when we turn the tone down a bit. It sounds nicer, it's tamed it a bit. Let's turn the gain up a bit. It's starting to get some semblance of sounding pretty good, actually, if I do say so myself. And this is still going to the clean. I think it still could do with more level, actually. It's pretty much all the way up now. Yeah, there's still something not quite right about it, so it sounds almost a bit boomy now, so let me turn the tone up a little bit. Yeah, it's got a bit more bite now. It kind of sounds a bit better. It still sounds a little bit bottom-endy, but that could be the cab of choice, which, by the way, is the a 2x12 on the 2 notes that's built in, which has got the reverb in it. I've turned the reverb up a little bit, the cathedral reverb, I think it is. So you can hear a bit of reverb here. And then we will try cranking it, plugging it into a dirty amp and see how that sounds. Let's see what happens when we run it into a slightly crunchier amp. Let's set everything back to 12 o'clock. Alright, so on the Rev D20 I can engage the slightly driven mode. It's not a proper drive mode, it's not a second channel. It's just a drive mode on the clean channel. So here I can pull this out. In fact, hold on, here's the clean before we pull it out. You hear that little kind of boost in volume a little bit. So I've just readjusted the input level so that it doesn't clip the microphone or the input. So you can hear that's crunching a bit more now. There we go, so the amp is crunching a bit. So what happens when we turn the DS1 on? So it sounds a bit harsh like it did earlier on. Let's turn the tone down again. I'm going to turn the bass down on the amp a little bit. Probably the best thing to do is to change cab, or at least move the microphones around a little bit, but I'm going to see what I can do with what I've got. It's not bad. It sounds a bit scooped to me. I feel like that would get lost in the mix if it was in a band context. Let's turn the drive up a bit. Let's turn the drive up even more. If I'm honest at this moment, it's not blowing me away. So in this case, what do? Let's add more. I'm going to turn up the gain on the amp a bit more. In fact, let's turn this off and see where the gain is at. Turn the gain to about 3 o'clock on the amp. It's meant to turn the volume down a little bit to compensate. Sounds a bit gainy on that last thing I played. Sounds a bit like there's too much gain. It's saturating a bit too much. Let's turn the gain down a bit. It sounded better there. It sounded a bit oversaturated when I had the gain, the distortion turned up. Let's go before 12 o'clock and see how that sounds, about 10 o'clock. Seems you can turn the distortion up too much when your amp is cooking a bit, and it can get oversaturated, at least to my ears, in the last experiment we did. So turning it down seems to be nicer. Turning it right down I don't find is that great, the sound, so maybe about 12 o'clock or thereabouts seems to be quite nice. Let's try that again, actually, 12 o'clock. Yeah, about there, I like that. That's quite nice. That's not too bad. The tone you want to watch out for, you don't want to have it too high because it just starts to get really, just cuts into your ears. If you turn it down, I did turn it down earlier, but I can't remember how it sounded. So it's about 9 o'clock at the moment. Yeah, so with this guitar, with this setup, about 9 o'clock, with a tone about 9 o'clock, sounds a little bit like it needs a bit more top end. So I don't want to turn it down too much, at least with this setup. And also it's bringing out the bottom end. It's like I can really, I don't know if I'm just hearing the cab, the virtual cab obviously in this case. It could just be, because it sounds like something, not really a problem, but it sounds like having like a 2x12 or a 4x12 where you get a lot more bass. So you might not hear that, but I can kind of feel it through my in-ears at the moment. I've turned the tone up to about 10 o'clock. Yeah, thereabouts, maybe 9:30 sounds pretty good. All the way down just for a laugh. Sounds like a blanket over the speaker, like a blanket over the speaker. So for me with this guitar and this setup, it sounds like the tone needs to be about 9:30-ish, and if you go too far either way, it sounds either too bright or a blanket over your speaker.
The DS1 is also known for being quite harsh and bright, especially with that tone control. So what I'd like to try is to see if it will work as a treble boost. Can I plug this into my amp and boost it like the way Brian May does with his amps and his treble booster?
So, can I use this tone knob as a treble boost? So let's turn this off. Let's crank the amp. That's as distorted as the amp's going to get. And let's see what happens when we start messing around with the tone knob. I'll leave the distortion on 12 for the moment, but let's turn it on. So when you use a treble boost, when you're pushing a gained up tone with a treble boost, you shouldn't get a piercing. Well, the tone shouldn't really be piercing your ears. You'll notice a more top end, but it shouldn't hurt. So I want to see if this DS1 will hurt the ears. I kind of suspect it's going to hurt, but just to see if it can work as a treble boost, let's give it a go. $12 o'clock. It's a bit piercing. It's not too bad. Let's go about 2 o'clock. Starting to pierce a little bit. 3 o'clock. Yeah, I'm starting not to like that all the way. Maybe the distortion is clouding the judgment a bit, so let's turn the distortion down a bit, say 9 o'clock. It's not horrible. Let's turn the distortion down off, basically. I'm still getting that low end thump, which if you're next to a real amp is actually really nice. If I push the level a bit more. So what have we concluded? Okay, so let's start at the end. Treble boost. I wouldn't use the DS1 as a treble boost. That tone control is just very wild. It's very sharp and spiky. Does the DS1 sound better through a driven amp than it does through a clean amp? From the test I just did, I can't tell much difference, to be honest. I'd say it sounds slightly better through the driven side of the amp. And what I noticed is that I didn't need to turn the level up as much when going into the driven amp. When it was into the clean side, I had to turn that level on the DS1 quite high, nearly flat out. But I didn't have to do that with when it was on the slightly gainier side. Now the drive on the amp is not particularly heavy. It's not a driven amp. It's slightly overdriven, and that's kind of as far as it will go. There's no distortion side to it. There's no drive side. There's only a slightly gained up clean side, which I believe is what we wanted to do. So to me, at least with that setup, I didn't notice much difference. Did I like it? Not really, to be honest. If I'm completely honest, I didn't really like it. There was a lot of bottom end thump, which may have been the cabs, the virtual cabs, but I didn't notice it on the clean side. Maybe I just missed it, but it was pronounced a lot more when I had the DS1 on. It sounded really scooped. It sounded like there's a lot of mids missing. I mean, I guess you could use it, maybe not as your main sound, but if you're adding another guitar track and you want to have a different sound there, maybe there's already a track with some mids in it and you want to get some frequencies that are kind of outside the mids and just to kind of add to the tonal flavour of what you're creating. You know, like
salt in your cooking. You wouldn't just eat the salt, but you would put it in your cooking. So you could use it as a tonal condiment. Maybe not condiment, but as a flavouring in your recordings. But as a tone itself, not really. I don't think I particularly liked the sound. It's not something I'd jump to use. Maybe with a different amp, maybe in front of another drive pedal, or maybe even a driven amp, properly driven amp, it might sound okay, but that'll be a test for another day. So let me know what you thought in the comments below. Did I do something wrong? Did you think it sounded good? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe there's something in the tone that I missed, because very often I'll play through something now and then I'll notice something in editing and wish I'd mentioned it, like, you know, in my analysis now. So maybe I've missed something. Let me know. But it wasn't getting my juices flowing during the testing. Let me know if I could have done something better to make the Boss DS1 sound good. But as I said in my intro, I've got a special place in my heart for the Boss DS1. It was my first ever guitar pedal given to me by my uncle Riddell, along with my first guitar. He bought me my first guitar as well. So, and even back then, actually, I didn't think it sounded great. It was nice to have distortion because I didn't have anything else that distorted, and I didn't know anything about guitar pedals or amps that distorted, amp distortion. Didn't know anything about that. So it was nice to have. I've taught some people who like this pedal, and they've compared it with other pedals and they preferred this one. So if you like it, great. Maybe one day my tastes will change. I mean, I didn't used to like tube screamers or fuzz, but I like them now. So maybe the DS1 in the future will be my go-to pedal. But until then, this is what I thought. I hope any Boss DS1 lovers out there, I hope you don't mind my opinion. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And yes, back to me in New York. Well, there you go. Thanks for sticking around until the end. I hope you found the video enlightening and have a new perspective on the Boss DS1. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Signing off from New York City.
Schön, dass du